Welcome to I'm Too Busy, an interview-based show hosted by a talented makeup artist, Christina Flach. Christina offers viewers a unique blend of personal stories, inspiring journeys, and practical beauty tips. Join the conversation as Christina features successful individuals from various industries who share their insights on health, wellness, makeup, and the keys to their success. So now, please welcome the host of I'm Too Busy, Christina Flach.
Hello, I am Christina Flach, and welcome to I'm Too Busy. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to a true Renaissance woman who has masterfully woven together literature, music, and philanthropy. Tiffanie DeBartolo's journey from Youngstown, Ohio, to becoming a celebrated author and record label founder shows how passion for arts can create multiple paths of impact. I would like to introduce you to Tiffanie DeBartolo. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. I'm so happy to be here today and so nice to see you.
Well, I am so honored that you're here and thank you so much. I'm so grateful. So, how did growing up in Youngstown shape your creative path?
Oh, well, that's easy. There was literally nothing to do in Youngstown. So I spent my entire childhood listening to music and reading books, hiding in my room. So it's no wonder that I grew up to work in the music business and write novels.
So it was perfect. It was,
Makes
you know,
sense.
yeah, it totally makes sense. Was your family like, what was their thoughts when you were like hiding in your room? Did they think you were just like so shy, or what was their thoughts?
They really tried to get me out of my shell more often. I mean, I remember times in high school where my parents would be like, please go out, go on a date, go out with your sister on a Friday night. And I would be like, I'm just going to sit home and watch Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Your dad, Eddie DeBartolo, was the owner of the San Francisco 49ers. Do you have any favorite memories or funny memories that you can recall?
Oh, I mean, so much. It's funny because growing up, football was such a huge part of my life. And when my dad got out of football, I stopped watching it. And so I realized that so much of my connection to the game was because I had connections with the players and with everyone
Right.
who was involved with it. So, I mean, just the Super Bowls really stand out as just really, meaningful times for our family and all of the friends and all of the players that we were so close to. I think also this is such a sort of probably San Francisco cliche, but the catch, you know,
Of course.
that
How could any of
moment,
us forget the catch, or
that
how much we were all in love with Dwight Clark?
yes, and he was just such a wonderful man, and we still miss him so much. And I will never forget that moment. And I will never forget what that moment meant for my dad and how important it was for, just all the work that he had done. And it was just, yeah. I mean, I was really young then. I was probably 11 or 12, and I still remember that moment.
Wow, that's so
We're going to the
exciting.
Super Bowl.
Those were amazing times for the 49ers.
I
I
know.
don't know if there'll ever be another time like it, because just the chemistry of the team and the chemistry with your father with San Francisco and the team was just a beautiful thing to watch.
It really was, and it was a hard time in the city back then too, with everything happening with Harvey Milk. And so football was just like the shining light that was bringing joy to people when it was tough. So I don't know, San Francisco feels a little bit like it's in that kind of slump right now. And maybe the 49ers can rally and get,
Ah, wouldn't that be nice?
yeah, do over.
So when you were in high school, you wanted to graduate early and they did not want to allow you.
This is true.
Um, and so you dropped out, but you got your GED and then you went on to UC Berkeley. What drew you to study philosophy, and what was that like? What was happening in high school that you just felt like, I'm out of here? Like, this is a waste of my time? Or
Yeah. Well, I
What did
mean,
your mom and dad say?
there were a lot of factors to that. First of all, the town where I grew up, God bless it, it's like a Bruce Springsteen song. It was an old successful steel town that had kind of died. And so there was sort of um that born to run mentality, of like,
Hmm.
eh, people sort of thought high school was their best years, and that life was all downhill after that.
Can you imagine?
No, and I went to an all girls Catholic high school.
Of
So
course you did.
add that to being in this really sad town. Um, and I was super close with my older sister, who was a year ahead of me. And so she was going to be graduating. And as far as I could see, it was just like, she's going to leave me here. She's going to go off to school in California and she's going to leave me here. And I just didn't think I could take it. And so I made sure I had all the credits that I needed to graduate a year early, except for typing, the one class that probably would have actually come in the most handy for me in my life. I didn't have typing, and my Catholic school refused to let me graduate because I didn't have my typing
Oh my
class.
God.
And so I begged my parents, can I just take the GED, drop out, and go to college? And they didn't think I was going to be able to pull it off because, of course, they grew up in this town that also they loved high school. Like high school was some of their best years ever. So,
Right.
like, why are you trying to rush your life? Like, enjoy your last year before you go off to college. And I didn't think I'd survive. So they were like, if you can pull it off, if you can make this happen, you can go to school. But they didn't think I was going to. And then somehow I did it. I like found a way to take the GED, and I got like literally a 98% on it. Like, it's not a hard test. Um, and then I just applied to only schools in California, in Northern California, actually. I just wanted to be in the Bay Area because I'd spent so much time here growing up and I loved it so much. Um, and Stanford rejected me, so I ended up at Berkeley.
Oh my gosh. What made you go into studying philosophy? What were you thinking you were going to do with that?
Honestly, I think it was more the weird existential me who had so many questions about life and how to live it. And I foolishly and naively believed that somehow studying philosophy was going to um, teach me tell me the answers to all of those questions. Unfortunately, it just gave me more questions, but it was also great and fascinating to study it. But yeah, it didn't make me any more or any less existential.
After college, you moved to LA and you wrote and directed the film Dream for an Insomniac. You wrote and directed that, and Jennifer Aniston starred in it. What was that process like, and how did that come about?
Well, this is a very good story because I wrote that film. I started writing it right after I graduated from college, and I'd moved to LA immediately after graduation for a job. And I had a job reading scripts at a production company. And I wanted to get into the film business. I thought I wanted to like work in Hollywood and be an actor and be a writer. Um, and I had this job reading scripts. My job was literally to read all the scripts that came in and take notes on them, tell the boss if they were good and worth reading or crap.
Hmm.
As so many bad scripts came across my desk that I was like, I could do this. And I wrote a screenplay inspired by this boy that I had met in college that I fell madly, instantly in love with, love at first sight. And he wouldn't go on a date with me. And so I had this dream that I was going to write this movie about him. And someday I was going to get the movie made and he was going to see it someday and realize that I was the one who got away. And so I ended up writing the screenplay and I sent it out to probably 50 small production companies in LA. And one of them loved it and wanted to buy it and wanted to make it. And we were in pre-production probably 6 months later.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, and I ended up marrying that guy. So as you know.
Yes, the lovely Scott, the most
Mhm.
amazing man, the love of your life.
Yep.
Wow. So you, and then what made them let you direct it as well? How did that happen? I mean,
That
that's
is a
very
good
rare.
question. I think honestly, they only had they had a really small budget, and I knew the story so well. It was so close to my heart. I really believed in it, and I think they saw that, and so they were like, "Listen, we're going to get you the best cinematographer we can afford, and you're going to direct it." And I was like, "Okay, sounds good."
Ignorance is bliss, right? Isn't it great that you didn't know? It's
You know,
sometimes best to not
it's
to.
it's so crazy because at my record label, I work with like we have an intern who is the same age right now that I was when I made that film, and she seems so young to me that I'm just like, what the F was I thinking?
Oh my God.
I was
So
like
did
23 at the time.
Oh my gosh. Did the film turn out the way you expected it to? And what was the experience like directing as well as being the creative behind the story? I mean,
That's, did it turn out the way I expected it to? I don't know if I even had any expectations because I really didn't know what to expect. It's funny because I can't watch the movie now. It's so cringe to me because I was so naive when I wrote it. And so it's like picking up your diary from 30
right,
years ago, and
right.
it's just like it's my heart on the screen in such a cringe sort of way that I have a hard time like taking it seriously. But it was like a little cult classic when it came out, and I really enjoyed the process of making it. But I didn't enjoy the process of Hollywood. The actual making of the film was really satisfying, but everything that sort of came after that, dealing with the studios and selling it and all the sort of compromises that you have to make, um, it wasn't for me. And that's why I sort of ended up as a novelist, because I liked the process of sitting at home making up stories and talking to my imaginary friends all day, way more than I liked being out in the world and being around Hollywood people.
I can understand that. So we're going to get to your other books, which I've read all of them and I'm a huge fan. Um, do you think you would turn any of your other books that you've written into a film?
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't do the work. I don't want to write the screenplays. I don't want to make the films, but what's that word? Optioned. I've optioned them a
Oh,
few
okay.
times, and nothing's ever come of it. It's like the
Hmm.
options run out and they can't get the films off the ground. But I would love to see that happen, particularly my first book and my most recent book, I think would make like a great extended television series, like
Yes,
those
I agree.
like 6 episodes.
Hmm.
Um, I think it'd be really cool, and maybe someday it will happen, but hasn't happened yet. And I'm
Not
not ready
yet.
for it.
How does your writing process differ between novels and screenplays?
Um, you know, it was pretty similar. I haven't written a screenplay since probably 1998. I stopped doing that as soon as I started writing novels because I realized how much more satisfying novel writing was to me. At the
Hmm.
time, I was like getting hired to write a lot of screenplays, and being hired to tell a story was really hard for me because they would give me sort of a plot and I would come up with an outline and I would try to do something really original and unique. And people would be just like, no, we don't want that. We want like the same story that you've
They
seen.
want a cookie cutter story that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was just frustrated with that. And I kind of started writing a novel as a kind of exercise in creativity. And I loved it so much. I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. And so I never wrote another um, screenplay after that. But for me, writing novels, I mean, writing anything, I get pretty obsessed when I'm working on a project. And it's kind of like I get up in the morning, I go for a run or a hike and get my coffee and I sit down and I just work until I can't see anymore, until Scott's just like, it's time for dinner, you got to stop.
Right, right. So what is it? How is the process? Do you wake up one day and go, oh my God, I have this incredible idea for a story or a character and I'm going to start writing? How does that little seed get planted? Or like, what is the first step? Or,
Usually for me, something hits me really hard and I want to explore it. I feel like with my first novel, it was actually inspired by the death of a musician named Jeff Buckley. And I
mhm.
was so heartbroken when he died that I literally sat down. I was sort of like, I felt like he'd given so much to me through his music and I wanted to give something back. And so I sat down and listened to the one album he made while he was alive. I listened to it over and over again for 9 months and wrote a novel that was basically inspired by those songs on that album. So it was kind of like me processing grief.
Mhm.
And most of my books have been inspired somehow by music, um, and just by questions that I have about life, um, and and trying to explore them and heal things, really.
So tell me a little bit about How to Kill a Rock Star.
Well, How to Kill a Rock Star was sort of like the response, without giving the ending of my first novel, God-Shaped Hole, away. I'll say that God-Shaped Hole, I was sort of like trying to accept reality and
Mhm.
and healing grief. And I realized when I was done with the book that writing it didn't heal me at all. It didn't teach me
Did it
anything
just,
about how to deal with grief. It just sort of sat with me in my grief, but it didn't teach me anything about it. And so How to Kill a Rock Star became okay, well, I'm going to play God then. And so that was kind of the impetus for that story, was if I couldn't bring Jeff Buckley back to life in my first book, I'm going to somehow bring him back to life in in How to Kill a Rock Star. And so um, that was sort of where I was coming from with that book.
and then my Sorrow, your latest book. I loved it so much because, well, because I know you and it was in our town of Mill Valley and it felt so familiar, even the hiking, being on the trail of Mount Tam and the redwoods and everything. It really spoke to me.
Thank you.
Where did that come from? I mean, was that, you know,
The story for that, it's so funny. I was out hiking on Mount Tam one day and I was listening, again, music comes into play because I was listening to an album that I'd heard 1,000 times before that day. And it's an album called Trouble Will Find Me by a band called The National, who is my second favorite band of all time. And there's a song on it called Pink Rabbits, which again, I'd heard this song 7,000 times if I've heard it once. But this particular day, I was walking through a redwood forest, and there was a line in the song that just hit me, and it conjured up this whole scene of these two people in an audience at the Greek Theater in Berkeley. And I went home and I started writing this scene, and I realized that I just started a book. Um, and that's where the idea came from.
that's so interesting. It's just so interesting how timing is everything. And like you mentioned, you'd heard that song 7,000 times. but this particular time and that particular place, they kind of came together.
Mm-hmm.
I know music has been incredibly important for you your whole life. When did you realize you wanted to bridge literature and music?
I feel like, well, do you mean with the label, or do you mean just writing and being inspired by music in my
But
books?
I think both. Why don't you answer both questions?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I thought about it in terms of like, oh, this is what I'm doing. It's just always been the biggest source of inspiration in my life, and sort of like my closest ally and my closest friend. Um and I'm a huge U2 fan. When I say that
Oh, yes. I
yes,
was going to get to that.
is the National, if I
The
say the
other love of
National,
your life.
yeah, the National is my second favorite band of all time, but U2 has been my favorite band since I was 11. So that's 40 years, something years. Um, and I just, I don't know. I'm just the kind of person that music hits really hard, and it
And
changes
deep
me,
and
and
deeply.
it just teaches me a lot about myself and about humanity, and the way that sort of marinates in me and then comes out as self-expression is through writing. And I don't think that much about it. It's just how it works in me.
Right. How many U2 concerts have you been to?
I lost track of probably 20 years ago, but if I were to guesstimate, I'd
A
say
range.
at least 75
Oh my gosh. And
all over the world.
have you ever met the man?
No, I can't.
I know. You've told me that before and I didn't know if it had changed.
It just,
It
I
would
don't.
ruin the dream, right?
Well, I have a lot of friends who know him very well, and they all say he would not disappoint you. But there's something about having a hero, like humanizing him into just a guy that I could have a beer with. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. Although I
Yeah.
have to say that anytime, this might be TMI, but anytime I do a plant medicine journey,
Okay.
it comes up where I'm just like, I actually really do want to meet Bono someday.
You have to. I mean, you just
My
have to.
ego won't admit it, but my spirit is like, yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah.
heart wants you to.
Yes.
What motivated you to found Bright Antenna Records with your husband, Scott?
Well, um, basically, again, just being very passionate music fans all our lives. And at the time that we started the label, we were full-time writers, both of us. And so we kind of thought, oh, this starting a record label sounds like a cute little project that we could do on the side. Um, yeah, right. Anyone, as you know, who has ever started a business, ha ha ha, because it took over our lives. We didn't know what we were doing at first. So the first 2 years were kind of throwaway. And then we started hiring people who had a lot more experience than us and taught us a lot about how the music business actually works. Um, and that was kind of it, like blindly going into it as two people who love music, saying, let's start a label. Okay, let's do that. And thinking it was just as simple as that. Um, and yeah, it's a lot of work.
You know, our mutual friend Tyler Florence, I've heard him say numerous times, if anyone knew how fucking hard it is to do anything, no one would do a goddamn thing. And he's totally right.
A hundred
It
percent.
and it is hard. It is difficult being exceptional. It really is. It's not something that's just so. I
No.
mean, what have you learned? What are the greatest lessons that you guys have learned, do you think, starting this label, and what has surprised you?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest obstacle that we found ourselves faced with was that we started the label almost like the minute people stopped buying records. You know, it was like right when Spotify and Apple Music were switching everything to digital service providers. And so we had to really figure out like, well, what are income streams now for our artists? And that was a really tough transition for the artists. And it still is like something that I lose sleep over at night, because none of the digital service providers pay what they should to the artists.
And what do you do about that? How do you protect your artists?
I mean, you don't. The only thing you can do is continue to do your job, marketing them the best that you can, making sure as many people know about them as possible. And that's, you know, through social media and through playlists and all the ways that that people discover music now. But it's really challenging, and I feel for artists today, because it is really hard to make a living doing this. And I wish that it wasn't the case. And, you know, it's
Do you
getting
see anything changing with that? Like, do you see anything that they're a little more protected, or is it just the way it
No,
is?
I don't. I really don't. And I think it's gonna come to a breaking point at some point, but it's not there yet. Um, so yeah, that's really hard. I feel like there was another question that you asked that I was gonna address there, and I lost
Oh,
it.
that how do you balance your between your literature and your music?
No, it was something about the music, but I lost it.
Oh, we'll come back to it. Don't worry. How do you balance your various creative pursuits?
Not very well, actually. I mean, it's hard. You know, you do so many things. Um, and I want to be good at all of it. And I think for the first, I would say the first decade of running the label, I was really bad at balancing, and I was exhausted all the time. And I really had to start taking better care of myself and assessing my my time. And I started being way more disciplined about saying yes to certain things, and keeping, you know, a certain amount of my time to myself, to be outside, and to just spend on the couch doing nothing. And I've gotten really good at that. Like, I feel like we've also gotten to a place with the label where we've been able to hire more people. You know, in the first decade, I was doing a lot of the sort of
Yeah, how many jobs did you have that first
a
decade with the
lot,
label? And both of
a
you, it was
lot,
you guys were doing everything. I really
everything.
remember.
And so my time is a little bit more balanced now. And it's just, it's, you know, I mean, I'm getting old and I need
Oh,
to
stop.
chill, you know. I'm just like, I've learned to love downtime in a way that I didn't used to love. So,
Well, that's good. It's important. How do you discover and develop new artists?
you know, for the most part, managers or agents send us demos and submissions. We do take submissions on our website, but to be honest, we've never gotten a submission that way that we were interested in. Usually people who submit blindly are like 5 years too soon, you know, like they figured
They're
out
not ready.
their garage band and they
Right.
make something and think that they're ready, but they're not ready. Um, so usually it's managers or agents. But I mean, we just recently signed a woman named Meg Elsier, who is really amazing. She's an amazing singer-songwriter from Nashville. And one of my coworkers had just randomly found some of her music online and sent it to me and was like, I'm really into this. What do you think of it? And I just like responded to it immediately, and it really moved me. And we reached out to her and ended up signing her. So sometimes it's just random, you know, an
Right.
artist will appear on a playlist and we'll like it, and they'll happen to not have a label.
And you have some bands that are older bands as well that have been together a long time. And how are they doing?
Great. Like one of the bands that we work with, that we've been working with for a long time, who I just love so much. They're called Wildorado.
Hmm.
And they're just the nicest humans. They're from Tulsa, Oklahoma. They have wonderful families and kids, and they're just so talented and so kind. So they're doing really well right now. They just put out their second album and going to be on tour most of the summer. And yeah, they're
Do
lovely.
you do you and Scott go on tour with your bands, or you just
I
monitor them from afar?
I used to do that. And I'm just too old now to do it, like living on the bus for 3 days.
Which
I
sounds
honestly,
awful.
I don't know how bands do it. I could never have like lived the life of a touring musician. It's so exhausting. And when we first started the label, I thought it was fun for a while, and then I just decided that I need more sleep, and yeah, it's not
Yeah, it
it's
would.
not the life for
It's
me.
well, it's not for you. It's like so different than, you're a writer and that's more your vibe. And I think it would be
Solitary.
hard. Yeah, it's you're not that gypsy's not so much in you.
No, but going to the band's shows is, it's really important for us, and for us to support them. So like all the big shows we show up for,
Of
um,
course.
and like Will Dorado had a sold out show at the Fillmore last fall, and that was a big deal for us because when we first saw them play, there was like maybe 7 people in the room, and cut
That
to,
must have been so exciting for them.
I mean, it was exciting for them. It was exciting for
It
us. Like I was
must have been
bawling
so
half
proud.
the
Of
time.
course.
I was just so proud of them. And it's moments like that that like make all the hard work,
Worth
worth
it.
it. When you just get up there and, and our whole office staff was there. And I was just like, you guys did this, look at all the work that you've done in the past 6 years for this band. And here they are. And that just, it's a really beautiful thing.
I love that. What's your vision for the future of independent music?
Wow. You know, that is a hard question to answer because I feel like everybody in the music industry is still figuring this tech world out one day at a time. I would say that right now the the most important thing seems to be social media as a tool to, get bands, get awareness of bands, build the fan base, all of that. So, we're always looking for ways to kind of think outside the box in terms of what can we do, marketing, social media, yada yada yada. It's not the sexy part of the music business, but I really do hope that the DSPs will sort of turn a corner and make it a little bit more fair for the artists, you know?
No, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What's changed the most, do you think, since you started this, your label, besides the streaming services? Has anything changed, like with the touring? I mean, are people going to as many shows as before?
I mean,
And touring is super important, isn't it?
the touring is super important, and the touring is really one of the best income streams for the band. And I think what has changed the most is how important social media has become. I mean, one viral TikTok video can catapult a career. And but that's a double-edged sword because it also means that a crap song can take off, and that's going to be the biggest artist of the year. And
I know. It's
meanwhile,
so
super
bizarre.
talented people that are just, putting their souls out into the world through music are banging their heads against the wall. So, yeah, the
Timing's everything, isn't it? It's
timing is
it's really it's
everything.
amazing.
Reaction. It is. It's like it's great, and it's also the devil.
Right. So as, in charge of your label, do you guys schedule all their touring engagements and set that all up for the bands, or who does
No,
that?
they have a booking agent that does all of that.
Okay.
I mean, they
That's
consult with us on best places to go and which cities to stop in and venue size and all of that. But yeah, that's not.
typically how long is a tour, and how many cities do they go to?
I mean, it depends on the band. Ideally, it's at least a month, when they're hitting 14 to 20 cities.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's like they'll do the West Coast and then a couple weeks later they'll do the East Coast. Sometimes they traverse the whole country at once.
Wow.
It just really depends on the demand and um, if they've just put out an album and all that kind of stuff.
And do you have bands that are in Europe as well, or that are touring in Europe?
Yeah, we have a couple bands that are actually based in London. Um, a band called Sports Team that's also just so amazing. They're like this Brit pop punk band, and their live show is so off the charts. I mean, it's just they're incredible, and they're going to be coming back here in the spring and releasing a new album. And yeah, we have another band from London called Prep that's sort of like modern hip yacht rock.
Fun.
Yeah, they're really fun. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff all over the world.
Love that. What inspired the creation of ShineMaker Foundation?
Honestly, like I don't know, the world going to shit, honestly, and wanting to make a difference. And, for Scott and I, we don't have kids, so we don't have anyone to leave our money to, basically. And so we just decided we should start giving it away to causes that we really believe in. And yeah, that was the impetus for ShineMaker.
You and Scott have generously supported the Northern Lights School, where I have the Baby Bo and Ken Flach educational funds, which I'm so grateful to you for doing that. It really meant the world to me. What other causes do you support,
Well, first
and
I just
how do
want
you
to say
choose
that I
them?
love Northern Lights so much. Michelle
Isn't she amazing?
she is something else. Like if the world were filled with
Of
Michelle,
Michelle's, oh,
we would be in a different place in America. Um, but so yeah, so that's a really important one for us. An organization called Every Mother Counts, which was started by Christy Turlington, and it works with maternal health, not just in America, but all over the world. That's a big one for us. Another organization that we work with, that we've been working with for a really long time, is called the VAD Foundation, and they've built a school in South Sudan, and they're educating young girls, which is a revolutionary idea over there. A lot of environmental organizations. What else have we got? Yeah, I mean, over the last couple of years, we've been trying to do a lot with women's rights and, protecting the national parks and all of the things that this current administration is trying to dismantle.
how does nature influence your creative work?
Oh, I love that question. Honestly, being in nature is the most important thing in my life. If I could be a professional hiker and just hike all day, every day, that's what I would do. But I need to be outside a lot. And I don't know, like the older that I get, the more connected I feel to nature. And the thing about it is that it puts me in my place. It's like I go walk among these giant trees, or I spend, as you know, spend a lot of time in Wyoming where there's bears and elk and moose. Randomly, every time I go hiking, I see one of those things. Um,
Right.
and it really just reminds me of how small I am. And, it's like, I just feel like humans go through life thinking that they're the most important species on this planet. And that's why they've wrecked the planet. And being in nature reminds me that I'm equal to everything out there. I'm no better than the bees and the ants and the birds and the redwood trees. And I don't know, that feels important to me. It's definitely like it definitely has changed like the way I see the world and the way I see life.
I love that. Do you feel different when you're in Wyoming as opposed to when you're in Mill Valley?
I notice when I'm in Wyoming that my nervous system is so calm. Like there's something about being in wide open space and like waking up and looking out the window and seeing nothing but mountains and sky and
Mhm.
trees to just like calm me in a way that feels really good.
Do you how are you dividing your time
Um,
between both places? Like,
Yeah, we do like summer and fall in Wyoming and
mhm,
winter and spring in
in
California.
California. Yeah, I
Much
think
to my husband's dismay, like he would move to Wyoming if it wasn't for me, but I grew up in Ohio where winters were just unbearable and I don't like to be cold for more
I
than
don't
a week.
either. I
Like I
know.
can
It's the
handle it
worst.
beginning, and then I'm just like, okay, it's December 29th and we got to go back to California.
Oh my God, that's unbelievable. So you're a dog mom to two sweet souls.
I am.
How did you choose that breed besides that they're so incredibly adorable?
Oh my God.
Because they're so big. They're bigger than you.
Can I just say that my dogs are probably the greatest joys of my life. I have Irish wolfhounds. They are the tallest dog breed in the world, not the heaviest, but the tallest. My dogs like stand almost 7 feet tall on their hind legs. Um, I read a book about them when I was a child, and they became my dream dog for 30 some years. They were my dream dog. And then I finally had a yard big enough to get one, and I got one, and he was an angel in a dog suit. I mean, he was the most amazing creature that I'd ever met. He was the first dog that I ever raised from puppyhood to adulthood, and I just got hooked. We got him, and then we got him a brother, and unfortunately, they don't live very long, and we have since lost those two dogs and replaced them with two other ones
Hmm.
who are also angels in dog suits. And yeah, it's I Scott and I say that like probably the second best decision we ever made was choosing furry children over human ones. I love them so much.
Oh, they're so precious.
They
What
are.
role does feminism play in your various ventures?
Oh gosh. Well, we need two
We
more
need
hours
know that we need
for
two more
this one.
episodes.
But I feel like the older I get, the last few years, I would say in the last 5 years, I've been really drawn to feminist literature, and I've been doing a lot of deep dives into feminism studies and gender studies and sexuality studies, and just realizing how big of a role the patriarchy has played in shaping our society and who we are as women and how we see ourselves, and the way the male gaze influences women's behavior. And so I would say just recently, like in the last 5 years, it's something that I think about constantly. And it plays a huge role in the work that I do now because I feel like I can't not speak up anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm,
Feels like
absolutely.
a time in our culture where silence equals acceptance, and I'm not okay with the way women are being treated and the way women's rights are at stake. And I'm constantly looking for ways to fight that fight. So if you know any other ways to make a difference, send it my way.
Yes, I definitely will. What do you emphasize when teaching at the Writers' Conference?
Huh. Yeah. Well, I would say the thing that probably the lesson I try to impart more than anything else to young writers is that discipline is more important than talent sometimes. I know so many really talented writers who don't actually sit down every day and do the work. And I know so many mediocre, talented writers who sit down and hash it out every day, and their work becomes better than the people who don't put that time in. And, it's like, I think people romanticize what it means to be a writer, and they think that you just sit in front of your computer and a muse comes and taps you on the shoulder and
Whispers in
inspires
your ear and you
you.
just type it out.
Yes, and that's not the way it works. I mean, sometimes you sit in front of your computer for 5 hours and you write 100 shit sentences that you erase, but you sit down every day and you do it, and you keep going. And that, I think, that's the key to any art form. You just have to do it. You have to keep doing it. You have to be disciplined to do it every day,
And consistent.
consistent, committed. Yeah.
So, how do you mentor emerging artists and writers? Is it just with that advice of being consistent and working on your craft? It's not just something you do once a week. It's a lifestyle. It's kind of
Yeah, that, and I mean, I feel like particularly at the label with music, um, with bands and artists, like I really try to cultivate a culture of, and I think this is where feminism comes in, but it's feminism in a way of, showing up as a woman, and like vulnerability is strength. And so cultivating this sort of family atmosphere where, people feel safe to express their opinions um, and express different aspects of who they are in their work, and just wanting to support that.
do you have another book in you that's about to come out that you're going to start
Um,
writing, or are you
you know,
thinking about it? Where are you
I've
at with your next
one has
book?
been marinating in me for a while, and I haven't started writing it yet because I've really been enjoying not working on a writing project, because like I said, when I am working on one, it's all I can think about, it's all I want to do. It takes up all my time that isn't devoted to the label, and I'm really enjoying having a lot of free time right now. So maybe this summer I'll start another project, but I will tell you that it will be feminism inspired.
Do you find it easier to write when you're in Wyoming as
Uh,
opposed to being in California?
Not necessarily. Once I'm in a project and I'm working on it, it doesn't really matter where I am. I'm pretty dedicated to it. So, but I haven't actually written a book in Wyoming yet. We've only been there for a few years.
That's
Um,
true.
my last book came out right before or right as we were moving into that house. So, I have a feeling I will really enjoy writing there.
What is your favorite book you wish you'd written, and what are you reading right now that you're loving?
Oh gosh, I've read so many good books lately. Um, I loved All Fours. Have you read All Fours by Miranda?
No, all
It,
fours. I'm writing it down.
it's fantastic. It's a wacky, sometimes confusing, sometimes uncomfortable story about a woman going through perimenopause and trying to figure out who she is in relation to the life she's created, and her desire and her erotic life, and what all of this means. And I just thought it was really unique and fantastic. Um, so I really liked that. And again, like I'm reading just a lot of women writers, stories about, yeah, just, I want to read stories about women my age who are going through what I'm going through. I am going through menopause, and I'm so interested in the sort of like power that this life transition is bringing. Like I once you get past all of the really challenging physical symptoms of
Hmm.
this, like I found that there's a power on the other side of it that I'm really enjoying exploring.
Do
Feminism.
you, I love that. What, is there a spot in nature that's your most special spot that you meditate? Is that something that you do inside or outside? Or is it a different experience from being inside or out?
I'm not like I'm not like on a schedule of like, I'm not a person that sits down and meditates every day, but being out, like I'm in Muir Woods probably 3 to 4 times a week, and that feels like meditation to me, where I walk through the woods, and um I don't know, it's like walking meditation. I'm
Yeah.
just there. I'm present with the trees, and sometimes I'm listening to music, sometimes I'm not, but the air is clean, and all I talk to the trees and I touch them and
And it
I'm
grounds
like,
you. And
I'm totally a hippie in that way. I do, like,
I,
I feel connected to nature in a way that um I love.
how important is self-care to you? And what are your workouts and diet looking like right now? Are they something that fluctuate or change or?
I mean, I've always been pretty health conscious. Need to I need to exercise every day because it's sort of my anti-anxiety medication, basically. I used to be an avid runner. For probably 30 years. I ran 6 to 8 miles a day, and I don't do that as much anymore. I prefer hiking.
Mhm.
So I go outside, but I also do strength training, because now this is what we're learning, is that women over 50 need to be strength training. So I'm doing that a couple times a week. I go to Pilates once a week. I have this amazing Pilates teacher here in Mill Valley that I love. I do yoga once a week with an amazing yoga teacher in Mill Valley. Um, and I eat a lot of red meat, trying to get all my protein all the time. And I don't really drink much. I mean, maybe one drink a week, but even then, sometimes that doesn't happen. So, I'm pretty healthy. I mean, my biggest vice is probably a bite of chocolate every night. I
Oh,
like,
I think
like
that's a bite.
protein.
I think you have to rephrase that. You have a bite of joy and
Yes.
happiness.
Can't give
It's
up
all how you,
everything.
no, why, and why should you?
No.
I think it sounds like you have a lot of balance in your life, like with your workouts and everything. And I think it's always good, the constant changing of the workouts.
Yes.
Our bodies get so used to something. So it's like you're shocking it all the time. So I think that's really, really great. And I also feel like you want to be able to hike when you're 80. And if you're
Exactly.
running, you're not going to be able to. I mean, that's just a fact. Everyone
Exactly.
I know that has run a million miles, they need to get hip replacement, knee replacement, and they can't do it. And it's, to me, much more important to be able to be out there and, hike. It's the same thing,
Exactly.
you
This is
know?
this is what I'm saying all the time. I'm like, and Scott is a big skier, and he is actually in Wyoming this week skiing because he's obsessed with skiing. And I went with him a couple times last year, and I just decided, like, and I'm actually a snowboarder, not a skier, but I'm not excited about it, because my thing is, I don't love this sport enough to risk
Be
not being able to walk for 6 weeks. Like,
exact and be
and he
cold, I
does.
might add. Right.
Yeah, he's like, I actually love it so much that it's worth that risk for me, but not me.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Where's your happy place?
Oh gosh. In the woods, hiking with my dogs and my husband. That's my, like, we do that every morning. Whether we're in Wyoming or whether in Mill Valley, we take the dogs for a little hike and first thing in the morning after coffee. And it's definitely like the highlight of my day most of the time. Little
What do you
family
do?
walks.
I like that. What do you do when your day isn't flowing?
Oh, go for a hike. This is my answer to everything.
Everything is go for a hike,
It's
go be
like
in the
if
woods.
I'm stressed out, I go to the woods. If I'm really happy, I go to the woods. If I have free time, I go to the woods.
What is your favorite quote or motto?
Oh, right now, the one I keep saying a lot is Charles Bukowski's never underestimate the stupidity of the general public.
That's for sure, right?
But no, for real, I feel like um, the older I get, the more I feel like the answer to every question is more love. You know, I
Truly.
don't feel good about this. What do I do? Give it more love. This is bad. What do you do? More love.
More love. I
The
love that.
answer is more love. And I'm trying to like focus on that in every way that I can so that I don't feel hopeless.
If you had one wish, what would it be?
Oh gosh. If I had one wish, what would it be? I mean, I feel like all the wishes that I could make, they would be in denial of reality. You know, like I wish that people could just be kind all the time. Like, how hard is it to just be kind, to care about others? And it baffles me when I see what's happening in this country and just wish, yeah, I just wish people would be kind.
I think that's what I would wish too. What would you tell your 18-year-old self about life?
Oh my God. I wish I could talk to my 18-year-old self. I wish I could talk to my 30-year-old self because I feel like again, like here comes the patriarchy. I feel like I let men drive so much of my behavior when I was younger. And like whichever boy I was in love with at the time was like, it was what I thought about all the time. Like my whole half my life has been spent obsessing over the boys I was in love with. I could have cured cancer if I
Yeah.
had that time back, seriously, and had focused on science instead of boys. Like so stupid. That's what I would tell my 18-year-old self. Forget any boy who's not interested in you. Just do something else. It will all work out.
What's the best advice you've been given and who inspires you?
Hmm. Um, I mean, I have so many people inspire me, but since we touched on it earlier, I will say that Bono is one of the biggest inspirations in my life. When I was in eighth grade, I saw U2 for the first time, and I remember watching him perform. It was in Pittsburgh and I was in the fourth row. And I remember watching him perform, and I could tell that he was feeling everything he was singing about. It was just pouring out of him. And I remember thinking, that's how I want to live. Like, I want to feel that deeply. And I left the arena that night a completely different person. And that still inspires me all the time. Every time I get down about something or I think something feels hopeless, I remember how that made me feel. And I remember how their music makes me feel. And it gives me hope. And it reminds me that there is transcendence to be had. And above that transcendence is love. It's all about love.
That's so beautiful. You know this is my favorite day of the week. What what is Tiffanie DeBartolo Day? I remember when you shared this with me like 20 years ago. I thought it was the funniest thing, but I live by
So
what you're
this
about
is
to
the
tell.
thing when I used to be extra busy at work, where Sundays would be my day and I wouldn't do anything that I didn't want to do. And I would spend the day in basically whatever self-care was moving me that day. And these days, Tiffanie DeBartolo Day is probably like a 6-hour hike and a picnic, or sitting in the woods, writing in my journal, or Scott and I taking a long drive up the coast and having a nice meal. But it's still very important to me. It's Tiffanie DeBartolo Day.
Tiffanie DeBartolo.
Yes.
Tell everyone. It's like, what are you doing on Tiffanie DeBartolo Day? I mean, I think it should be a national day.
It's also a day that I'm allowed to eat whatever I want.
That's right.
Like banana
That is right.
splits for dinner if I want it.
That is right. That is right. What would people be surprised to know about you?
That I'm really shy, and that a lot of things scare me. I think that people, because I've done a lot in my life, I think people see me as this like really strong person. And it's kind of like that Georgia O'Keeffe quote where she says, I've been terrified every single day of my life, and I've never let it stop me from doing anything. And that's kind of the way I feel about my life. And I think people don't realize how soft and vulnerable I am.
And sensitive. You're very
Yeah.
sensitive.
Yeah.
You are.
So yeah, I think that surprises most people when they take the time to like notice that part of me.
What question have I missed asking you today? And what would you like people to know?
Wow, I think that you did a really good job of asking me a little bit about everything in my life. I probably would have said, can we talk about my dogs if we hadn't, but we already did.
We had to talk about those babies.
I think the other thing, I mean, that's been a big thing in my life in the last few years is the plant medicine. And so, and how much I've changed. I've been changed by working with therapeutic plant medicine, because I was somebody who never, in my entire life, I never drank until I was 35. I never did any kind of drugs until I worked therapeutically with the plant medicine. So that it's changed my life. It's made me a different person. It's like balanced my nervous system in a way that I didn't even think was possible. So so that's been a big part of my life in the last few years. And I've been doing a lot of work to kind of like bring that to more people.
That's a beautiful thing. It really is. Tiffanie, thank you so much for being on my show today. I'm so incredibly grateful. You are one of my favorite people that I don't get to see enough, but I think of you all the time, and you mean so much to me.
I appreciate you so much.
Oh,
and
thank
your
you.
whole family. And
Thank you.
I'm honored to have been here with you today.
Well, thank you. Tiffanie DeBartolo's multifaceted career demonstrates how following one's diverse passions can create a rich tapestry of creative and philanthropic impact through literature, music, and charitable work. She continues to inspire others to embrace their full creative potential, including me. So I thank you for all you do for the world. And I'm Christina Flach, and I'm too busy. I'll see you next week.
This has been I'm Too Busy with host Christina Flach. Tune in each week as Christina approaches the concept of success holistically, recognizing that achievement is not solely measured by financial triumphs, but also by maintaining a healthy work-life balance and focusing on self-care. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.